everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. You're chopping it up with Chuck, and I am here today with Jim Marty, the CEO of Bridge West CPAs. How are you, Jim?
Good, very good, Chuck.
It's great to have you here, my friend. In these crazy, uncertain times right now, it seems like now it's more important ever than we stay connected, where everybody's working from their homes.
Yes. It's been a very busy week here in my home office. It's been communicating with our cannabis clients in Colorado and all around the country.
Are you feeling that kind of uncertainty from a lot of people? Are you fielding a lot of questions about that? Or what's going on? What should we do?
Uncertainty, nerves are on edge. But for the cannabis industry, it's been a week of very strong sales as people stock up. Mm-hmm. And luckily, we haven't been shut down, at least here in Colorado or in other states. I heard even in San Francisco, they're allowing the dispensaries to stay open. The cultivators are in the cultivation facilities. So far, so good. We're almost in the same basket as the grocery stores, where we're allowed to stay open and having record sales. Not that I'm taking any joy in this pandemic. I'm just reporting what I'm hearing from around the country. I went out of my way to reach out to as many clients as I could this week by phone just to see how they were doing. And
that's awesome. Yeah, I think that everybody's stocking up, right? Figuring we might be in our homes for at least a few weeks and maybe a month. And it seems like people you can't find toilet paper, but definitely stocking up on food, medicine, and cannabis. People want to make sure if they're there that they've got their medicine, they've got their cannabis, and so I guess in that regard, the cannabis dispensaries at least are still doing good business right now.
Yes, and as I said, they're like farmers. The cultivators are still cultivating, so the plants need to be looked at every day. So the cultivations are going. My cultivators are saying, they naturally pretty much practice safe handling, social distancing anyway in their cultivations with gloves and masks and staying 5 or 6 feet apart from other workers as they inspect each plant, water them, apply the nutrients, and then ultimately harvest them.
Well, and Jim, it's really important that we have someone like you on our podcast right now, because you're the CEO of Bridge West. You're one of the most well-known and respected CPAs in the industry. Can you tell people just briefly how you got into the industry, sort of how you got your start?
Well, I've been or at least I was a self-employed CPA for many years. I started my CPA firm when I was 26 back in 1984. So do the math and you'll figure out I'm almost 64 years old. And in 2009, I had a couple of partners over the years, but in 2009, I didn't have any partners. So I didn't have to ask anybody's permission. And in the summer of 2009, I came back from my summer vacation and all my friends were there. Jim, you wouldn't believe what happened while you were gone. All these dispensaries are opening up and they all need an accountant. So I looked into it, started attending some of the cannabis meetings, listened to presentations by what I call the cannabis attorneys down in Denver. And in the fall of 2009, I went out to San Francisco, Oakland, and met with some people who are now good friends of mine, Henry Wykowski and Hank Levy. Hank Levy, a very prominent CPA, now retired. And they told me some very important things. They said, Jim, the IRS wants you to help these people. And we've been signing these tax returns since 1996 in California, and CPA has never been sanctioned. And then politically and socially, I've always been in favor of legalized marijuana. Cocktail party talk about how marijuana should be safe and legal and properly taxed. So I came back from that trip in November of 2009 and told the cannabis attorneys that I would do it, that I would sign their tax returns.
Wow.
I very quickly had over 100 cannabis clients back in 2009, 2010. And by 2014, my cannabis practice was bigger than my 30-year-old practice. So I split my practice. I merged out everything that was not marijuana to another firm in town, put everything that was marijuana under Bridge West, and then I started looking for an upstream merger because I saw the need for a large, sophisticated CPA firm for the cannabis industry. For instance, I was a tax shop. We did a lot of tax returns. We didn't do any financial statement audits. Today, we do many, many financial statement audits because some states require it, other states or other investors require it. So we do a lot of audits under generally accepted accounting principles now that we didn't do before. So January 1st of 2017, Bridge West was acquired by a large Minneapolis CPA firm, Beckerman, Grafstrom, and Mayer. And it's been a very successful merger. So today we have over 125 people between us and our parent company. And we do the tax returns, financial statement audits, and other consulting work for over 400 cannabis clients nationwide. So that's our story.
Yeah, so you guys are a bunch of smart people that help cannabis companies with all of their financial and their CPA needs.
We do. We do a lot of profitability consulting. We advise them on how to survive when they're unable to take all of their tax deductions. Under IRS Code Section 280E, that gets a lot of press. They can take their cost of goods sold, but not their selling and other administrative expenses. I call them the big three: retail rent, retail labor, and advertising. Now, for cultivators and extractors, 280 doesn't affect them that much because most of their costs are ending up in cost of goods sold when the product is sold. But for the retailer, it's very important to know what your margins are and making sure you have enough margin, gross profit, to pay your taxes and still and your overhead, and still have some money left over for profit. It can be done, but as I say, it's a very narrow path. You have to grow or buy cannabis and sell it, and that's all you can really do. No frills, no extra expenses like trips to Las Vegas, conferences, meals. A retail dispensary should buy and sell cannabis, and that's the only expenses on their books, and that can help you be profitable on an after-tax basis.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I want to talk to you more about some things that business owners might be missing right now in some ways where maybe they could save some money. Some kind of advice that a sage CPA like you would be able to give them. And also want to talk about kind of the current situation right now, things businesses maybe should be looking out for or thinking of doing with the coronavirus that's happening right now. But first, we're going to do a quick shout out to one of our sponsors. So we'll be right back after this brief pause.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. Today's episode is brought to you by PolyScience. For 5 decades, PolyScience has responded to the needs of laboratory, chemical, medical, industrial, and plastics market with unparalleled innovation, passion, and user focus. Their dedication to quality, ease of operation, and reliability has helped them become a global company that spans 6 continents. PolyScience refrigerated circulators, heated circulators, chillers, recirculating coolers, water baths, and special purpose products are designed to simplify tasks, take less space, integrate more seamlessly, and perhaps most important, make your work more productive and enjoyable. To learn more, visit polyscience.com. That's www.polyscience.com.
Hey everybody, we're back with Cannabis Tech Talks. You're chopping it up with Chuck, and we're here with Jim Marty, the CEO of Bridge West CPAs. And Jim, you're a big Grateful Dead fan, aren't you?
I am. That's part of the reason I'm in this industry. When they came to me back in 2009, I said to myself, how could I say no after all those Grateful Dead shows and, social cannabis use all these years? So, glad to do it. And, I think Jerry Garcia would be very surprised to see the legal cannabis market as it exists today. It was unheard of in 1995 when he passed away.
Isn't that interesting to think of what those people back then would think about what's happening right now?
I still have to pinch myself, after years of worrying about, getting arrested or forgetting something in your pocket, going through security.
Right.
it's so nice not have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, and tell us about your podcast, because I've actually been a guest.
You've been a guest on the Deadhead Cannabis Show. And we did some research, and certainly anything to do with the Grateful Dead or playing Grateful Dead music would be copyrighted, but it turns out the word Deadhead is not. So we were able to grab that name and put it into the Grateful Dead Cannabis Show, and we discuss all things cannabis and Grateful Dead and Fish and all the other jam band scenes. We talk a lot about music. We talk a lot about cannabis. My partner is Larry Mishkin of Hoban Law, very knowledgeable Deadhead and cannabis attorney out of Chicago. And we always find plenty of things to talk about on our podcast.
Why do you think, Jim, why do you think cannabis and music go so well together?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I guess they're kind of like peanut butter and jelly. There's certainly been the aroma and the cloud over the audience at concerts for many, many decades. People who enjoy cannabis also seem to enjoy their live rock and roll. The jazz musicians who started rock and roll back in the 1920s were all cannabis users or, had their drugs. They say Louis Armstrong kept cocaine in his handkerchief. So whenever you saw him, blowing his nose during a show, he was actually taking cocaine. So
wow.
Anyway, but cannabis and music seem to go together. Along that note, I just was disappointed to hear that Jazz Fest has been canceled for this year.
Wow.
Yeah, we had our tickets.
Yeah, I mean, events, there's no events. We keep on Cannabis and Tech Today, we have a pretty extensive event calendar of all the cannabis events, and we keep it all up to date, and it's a mess for the next couple months. It looks like there's no events at least through the next, 2-3 months. Yes.
Myself and Bridge West always participate in lobby days with the National Cannabis Industry Association. It's always in May. And 200-300 of us from the industry descend on Capitol Hill and visit congressmen, senators, their staffs, representatives of the Trump administration. And I just got word that has been pushed out now till September. So it's a big deal. It's a pretty big shutdown. People are saying this is the biggest thing that's happened to this country since Pearl Harbor. They could be right. It's going to be very tough for a lot of people. I've been fortunate that I can work in my home office. Many people cannot work from home. Mailmen, truck drivers,
frontline people
out there, the medical professionals. So a lot of people are out there on the front lines, and hopefully we'll see this thing flatten out in the next week or so, and we can get back to normal. The one thing about when this is over, it's not like 9/11 where they destroyed buildings and upset our airline traffic. When this is over, everything should come back pretty quick. Hopefully we'll be playing baseball by May. Hopefully my favorite ski area will get a few weeks in at the end of the season. Here in Colorado, we just had probably a foot of snow up in the mountains, so it's a shame that all the ski areas are now closed. This is some of their biggest weeks.
Yeah,
spring break this week and next, depending on what part of your country you're coming from. But the end of March is spring break for a lot of people. So I don't know. We'll get through. People are clever. Americans are very resilient. I'm waiting to see some of the clever things that people figure out while they're homebound the next few weeks.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that innovation oftentimes is born out of these circumstances where our backs are against the wall, and America's darn good at innovating, especially when we come together. When we come together and go against a common enemy, we can do amazing things. And so I have no doubt that we'll come out stronger and better after this. And probably this is a good time to strengthen relationships. It's probably a good time to look inwards for a lot of business owners, maybe work on some things that they've wanted to within their business, because everybody's got time now. And also there'll probably be some good talent out there. If you're looking to plug some holes in your business, there probably will be some layoffs and such. You might be able to go and find some good talent out there. Where before the unemployment was so low, it was hard to find people.
Yes, we'll be interested to see how the employment situation turns around. Certainly, there was zero unemployment here for a long time. We were struggling at our CPA firm to retain and attract good people. So, maybe now people will be more appreciative of having a job.
Absolutely. And can you give our audience a little bit of maybe just a tip or two coming from you, Jim, on what businesses should be aware of, during the next couple months, or maybe anything from a CPA perspective of something for business owners to keep in mind?
Well, there's so many moving parts right now. We just heard in the last day or so that there is no April 15th deadline this year. It's been moved to July. So the pressure to get your taxes done and your taxes paid by by April 15th is now July 15th. So that gives us all a little bit of breathing room. On the cannabis side, what's really important is for retailers to get with their cultivators, get with your source of products, and make sure you're going to have adequate supply over the next few weeks. If we are homebound, people will probably consume more cannabis. So, make sure those cultivations keep going, those harvests keep happening. And if you are a standalone retailer, really firm up your supply lines and forward-looking contracts for the next 3 to 4 to 6 weeks.
That's some great advice. And where can our audience, where can they find you? Or if they want to, they'll reach out to you or Bridge West, and they're thinking about maybe talking to you guys about how you could work together. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Yes, I'm easily reached through our Bridge West website, bridgewestcpas.com. All of our Deadhead cannabis shows are there. There's many, many blogs that I've written, including one just recently on the strong demand during the pandemic. So we have podcasts and blogs and lots of good information written by me and my fellow partners at Bridge West. So you can find a lot of really good information, and plus we're very easy to contact there as well.
Well, and one thing I would leave our audience with is that sometimes it seems like when you're running a business, you don't have money to spend on things like cybersecurity or CPAs or, things like that you think are a luxury. But I'm looking forward to talking more about how having a good CPA is not just a luxury, but it's one of the smartest things you can do for your business. And we'll talk in the future through the magazine or something like that about some different ways that CPAs can save you money in the long run, and talk about some different things that you can help, like with how to get a checking account, some of these other areas that you can help businesses in. It's a good idea not to skimp there and to have somebody who knows what they're doing, professionals like you guys. Jim, thanks so much for being here on Cannabis Tech Talks. We really appreciate it. And for everybody that's listening, if you like this, make sure that you share it and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on social media so you can stay in the conversation, and visit our website, cannatechtoday.com.